Despite what my videos may portray, the Tesla Model 3 is not perfect. I know, it's hard to believe, but during this video, I'm going to talk through the 10 things I think Tesla could do to improve your Model 3, which might help lower your expectations just a little bit, so that when you go to pick it up, you're not going to be disappointed or surprised by anything. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe down the bottom right hand corner, and that's because I do regular videos on Tesla Model 3s, and that's because I like the Tesla Model 3. So don't hate me for doing this dislikes of my Model 3, because I absolutely love it, but my friend challenged me to make a video of the 10 things I don't like about it. So I'd be interested to know whether you share my dislikes, whether you think they're rubbish, or whether you've got some of your own. Write them in the comments below and we'll have a bit of a debate. And I'll hold my hands up, some of these are really petty, but I had to think of 10. So I'm going to start in reverse order like a true chart. So just bear in mind the 10s, 9s and 8s are probably quite small, but as we get near the top, there are a bit more significant dislikes. So in at number 10 are the auto dimming headlights. And the idea is that as a car approaches you, rather than you having to dim your own headlights, the Tesla Model 3 is going to do it for you. And I'm guessing it works on an algorithm determining the amount of light coming into the camera lens and then decides whether to dim your headlights on that basis. So the problem is that sometimes the Model 3 reads the amount of light reflecting off traffic signs as light coming directly into the lens, and then will dim them just as you're trying to read the sign. Or worse still, if there's a barrier in the way, it doesn't see the light coming from the oncoming car directly into the lens, so it doesn't dim them at all and you blind them. So you manually go to turn off your headlights just as the Tesla Model 3 realizes, turns off your headlights. So you end up flashing the person you just blinded and they think you're being a moron. Hopefully though, that can be a software update and they can tweak that over time so they'll get better like they did with the windscreen wipers. So in at number 9 are the way the boot and the frunk open. Mainly the boot is my issue, because I just think it's a bit pointless to be able to open the boot through the app, because you pop the boot and it will open a tiny little bit, and then you have to come under, put your hand on the button that would have opened it anyway to lift it all the way up. Now I've overcome that by putting springs on my boot, so it actually will open automatically. Downside is it's now a lot harder to shut because it's got a lot more resistance. And I never really use the frunk because although the only way to open it is through the app or in the car, when you come to close the frunk, the only option is to put your hands on the bonnet and push it down, which means you're either going to leave fingerprints on it if the Model 3 is dirty, or if your hands are dirty and your Model 3 is clean, you're going to leave fingerprints on it that way. So that's one of the main reasons I don't bother using the frunk. And I may be expecting too much value for money here, but I think a power-assisted frunk was essential to make that space usable. Again, it's quite a trivial thing, but it's the way you use the musical interface. So I'm used to just one-touch buttons to flick to, say, my phone or to whichever media device or a radio station. Well, in the Tesla Model 3, you have to swipe up a little bit, then swipe up a little bit more, and then press another button to choose what you're playing. There are quick options to go through on the scroll wheel, but you have to cycle through all the different radio stations, and I'd prefer just a shortcut on the center console so you can quickly choose, say, a radio station or a device that you want to play back. There's plenty of space on there to do it, it just needs to be added through a software update really. So generally the car is too scared, and by that I mean it beeps and flashes at you for no apparent reason and you have no clue what it's doing it for. Now you can reduce the sensitivity in the settings, but then I kind of think it's pointless having an early warning system if you delay it warning you early enough. And by too scared, I mean it'll warn you you're about to plough down a pedestrian that's safely walking on the pavement, or that you're about to collide into a nicely parked car that's out the way of the road. And you find autopilot will also phantom brake when you're least expecting it, and you spend your time looking around for a plastic bag or a leaf that might have blown across a sensor to think it's about to hit something. So this one I think is going to be a controversial one, but I'm looking forward to when my Model 3 has to make a sound at low speeds by law, which I think is happening in 2021. And that's because you have to be super aware of all your surroundings when you're manoeuvring at low speed. People don't hear your car. If you're waiting to come out of a parking spot and you're in reverse, they don't notice the lights, so they'll walk across behind you. You can even be sometimes moving and they won't notice. So if we emit a noise going at a slow speed, then actually that's going to be really helpful for awareness, because I'm quite conscious that I'm going to accidentally bump into someone. And I guess it depends on the sound that's going to be emitted, whether I still like this as an option come 2021, but I believe all Tesla Model 3s are coming with a speaker already fitted just under the driver's side front wheel. And knowing Elon Musk, I'm sure the sound will be quite unique. Fingers crossed it will be customizable in future software updates. So that brings me nicely onto number 5, which is how Tesla roll out software updates. Most other technologies that receive over-the-air software updates will get them all at the same time. So think of your phones, your consoles, your computers. When that company hits go, everyone has the option to download it. Tesla doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason as to how they distribute it. Random countries get it, random models. Sometimes I'll be the first to get it, sometimes the last to get it, and it doesn't seem to make any difference whether my car's connected to Wi-Fi or whether it's connected to the charging port. Sometimes I'll just not get a version at all. You can understand the disappointment that's displayed in the forums as to why they're waiting weeks and you can't download it. So this one might be controversial, so let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are, but I don't like the frameless windows that are in all the doors. And that's because when you're opening or trying to get into your car from a tight spot, maybe it's a tight parking space or my garage, out of my peripheral vision, I can't really see where the window is, and my friends do say I'm dyspraxic, so that might be the reason. But the amount of times I almost take my eye out trying to get into my car because I can't really see it out of the corner of my eye, especially in the night time, is ridiculous. And also it does make a little squeaking because the flex of the car, you've got the window rubbing against the rubber. This might be normal for frameless windows, I've never had one before. But if I jam my hand just up there, it does stop it squeaking. So maybe when full self-driving comes about, I can just drive around like that if the squeaking gets too much. But let me know if you experienced that in your Model 3. And if you didn't notice it before and now you do, sorry, not my fault. So in at number 3, we're getting serious now, and that's road noise. So I know I've complained about it being too quiet, but actually when you're out going at higher speeds, I think the road noise is actually quite loud. Now it might be because I've got no engine and I'm actually thinking about it a bit more, I don't know. And it could also be the fact that I live in a county where the roads are pretty horrific, because I have noticed if I'm driving on a really smooth surface, it is actually meeting my expectations, it is quite quiet. But I think get on a rougher road at 70 miles an hour, and I think it's as loud as any other car with or without an engine. But I'm aware of other manufacturers gone out of their way to soundproof their car by either putting soundproofing on the wheel arches to stop some of the sound coming into the car. You could potentially put soundproofing in the doors, double glazing. Appreciate that the models I'm talking about are probably £20,000 more expensive, and it's probably exceeding expectations a little bit for a £40,000 car. Fingers crossed, as battery technology improves and the cost to produce the car goes down, they'll be able to invest a little bit more in those technologies and actually make a quieter car when you're driving along though. So this is in number 2, and you might think this is too high up the chart, so let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, but it's the temperature control in the Model 3. In my Fiesta, which was a 61 plate Fiesta, I used to set the temperature to 20, which is what I'm comfortable driving around at. And on a hot day, kept me lovely and cool at 20 degrees. On a cold day, kept me lovely and warm at 20 degrees. I find with my Tesla Model 3, the temperature, I have to adjust it depending on whether it's a hot or cold day. So on a hot day, I'll adjust it down to 18 because it doesn't keep me cool enough. And on a cold day, I have to adjust it up to 22 because it doesn't keep me warm enough. And with the temperature swings we get in the UK, I find I'm always adjusting it because in nighttime, I want it a lot hotter, and in daytime, I want it a lot cooler. So because I'm interacting with it all the time and I can never find the right temperature setting, that's why it's so high up in the chart. And in at number 1, you've probably guessed it already if you watched any of my other videos, is the paint issues that come on the Tesla Model 3. So I think if you're picking up a brand new car, you're expecting it to be in pristine condition, and mine just wasn't. Now I know Tesla were skipping the pre-delivery checks when I got mine because it was back in September 2019. So I'd be interested to know if you've got a car recently, whether you've got any defects or not. But Tesla are still inexperienced in the paint department. There's numerous reports about Canada where they have lots of grit and snow on the road. The grit's been hitting the paintwork and actually peeling away the paint near the tyres. So Tesla offered a free winter pack, which involved mud flaps to try and stop that from happening. And I've noticed I pick up a lot more stone chips than I did on my Fiesta because the paint is so soft. If you can remember when I picked it up, I had loads of issues, which to be fair, Tesla rectified, but then probably about 3 months later, the lacquer came off one of the repairs, so I had to send it in again, which again, Tesla rectified with no issues. Just leaves me with no confidence in the paintwork whatsoever. I think the moment that confirmed it was when I got my car ceramic coated, because I was very conscious that I wanted to protect the paintwork. So I went and got it ceramic coated, and the guy measured the paint because he wanted to know how much area he had to play with, because he was going to remove some of the swirls that the car came with in the first place. He measured like the bonnet and some of the wings, and he said it was 60 nanometers. That depth of paint should be on surfaces that aren't exposed to the environment, so like the door sills or in the boot or things like that. And I asked him how much it should be, and he said around 100 and 110. So we're talking almost half the amount of my paint thickness on a lot of the exterior surfaces, which would explain all the stone chips. I now have that expectation that in years to come, my car just isn't going to look as good as I want it to. I know I'm usually more upbeat and very pro Tesla, but I thought it was only fair to give a balanced picture, and I was challenged to think of 10 things that I think they could improve. Fingers crossed you found those also trivial, you're not going to be bothered whatsoever by them, although I'm suspecting you might be bothered by the paint issue. And I guess the good news is none of those were about driving an electric car or range anxiety if you exclude the silence of an electric car. Let me know what your thoughts are on your Model 3 down below, or what gripes you've come up with as well. I would normally ask for a thumbs up if you liked the video, but I'm guessing people didn't like the fact I was dissing a Model 3. So how about if you found it remotely interesting, you give it a thumbs up instead. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, because I promise my next video will be definitely more positive Tesla. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.